carry on with the mistakes. Not to mention what you told me about Sonic, which freaked me out. The trailer's out. We got to talk about that next time.
Yeah. I tell you what, next week we'll watch it. But yes. Yeah, I think the first run came out, and then the second trailers are out, further expanding. But the first one was just Sonic and Eggman. Second one, they introduced Knuckles and Tails, and now we've got Shadow. So we've got a full roster, man. Soon we will have an entire pantheon of Sega characters on the big screen, which just allowed. We've already had a spin-off. Knuckles had his own TV show. Yeah. Idris Elba as Knuckles, which his voice just buttery smooth.
Oh, don't worry. He told that it's so funny because because I confess, when I saw the movie, I didn't know. I just knew that I said I love it, but I didn't for some reason. I was focused on Jim, getting bored, and then it's like, oh, sure, this is interesting. But the way that he talks is I knew it was a black. That's true. And then I was like, what is that guy? Whatever. And he told me, I was like, oh, of course, it makes sense, and it makes perfect sense casting him as well because the way he handles characters. So I'm just looking forward to. I mean, after Jim was retired, I was like,
I can't believe. So you didn't know it was Keanu Reeves? It was everywhere. When the trailer dropped, people were like, "Ah, Neo, he's got quills! Oh my god!" It's great. No, we've got a few minutes left before we have to disappear. I'm just going to share it. No. I've got it loaded. I've just got it here.
Beautiful. I'm going to listen to a part 2 of the video. Yeah, no.
To share. Okay, can you see the screen?
Oh yeah. Is it full screen view? Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
Sonic, you finally found your family.
Try to keep up.
I know it hasn't always been easy, but you didn't change who you are in here.
Yeah, in my lungs.
Or your heart.
There's been a high-level security breach. And we need Team Sonic's immediate assistance. Project Shadow is far beyond anything we've ever encountered.
Shadow's story began a lot like yours, Sonic. But where you found family and friends, Shadow found only pain and loss.
All right, we got a rogue alien on the loose. How do we find it?
Start with a giant fireball?
I love it. Let's start with a giant fireball.
Dude, I can taste
Wait for it.
Right now.
He is much more impressive than the Hedgehog I fought previously.
Dude, I'm standing right here.
You're a colorful bunch.
We don't want to fight you.
Actually, Sonic, I would like to fight.
No! My turn. Can we just talk about this? He's too powerful. Sonic! I can't believe I'm saying this, but we need you-know-who.
This is a bad idea.
When has that ever stopped me?
Doctor!
We have visitors.
This is sad, Robotnik. Even for you.
We need your help.
On one condition.
What? Do this!
If I can't rule the world, I might as well save it! I need room. But, sir, I don't have the proper materials.
Found some.
When we're done, there won't be anything left.
Hey, no cheat code! What did you do?
What I had to. Welcome home, my boy.
It's impossible.
Is it?
It couldn't be.
Couldn't it?
I am...
Are you?
in the saggy flesh.
Oh, oh, I am so happy. I'm seriously so happy about this. Oh,
What was that? I think it's
that, yeah, him nutty professoring this is just. They got Keanu Reeves to play Shadow straight, like just he's a straight villain, abused, manipulated, hurt. He's lashing out at the world. He's perfect. Just not. He's not hamming it up. He's not joking about it. He's just doing it. But this, oh, thank you. This is a pure example of listening to the fans and going, "Yo, all right, we'll do what you want."
Sorry, let me say this at least 5 times. Oh, dude.
So good.
Can you believe it? Okay, I'm slipping this off over people in case you didn't see the last part. I'm putting to the 2-parter because, jeez. But dude, I don't know why I didn't show my feed. But I'm seeing that. That's what I'm gonna say. I think
Shadow's always been a kind of a prickly character for the Sonic fandom because he is definitely a creation of the modern era.
Yeah.
Classic fans, people who've been playing games for a long time, adults now, will have played early Sonic. They'll have loved early Sonic and the mechanics that came with it. But Shadow was purely a creation of the modern era. And to the older gamers, he's a bit of a joke. You know, he's, the edge. He's an edgelord of the highest order. He's a Sasuke type character, you know. He's all edgelord, but younger gamers, especially those who only played Nintendo games, he was like one of the first Sonic characters they ever played. Because the first Sonic game that ever came to Nintendo after Sega stopped making their own consoles, they stopped producing devices, was Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, the updated version of Sonic Adventure 2. So to younger audiences, he was in right there from inception. He was the big bad right at the get-go. And that's why he got his own game. He's always been a prominent figure in Sonic media since the new from the new era. If it's media that includes the older era, Sonic Generations, the first game was about old classic Sonic meeting modern Sonic, and then playing through classic style levels and modern style levels and seeing the differences, which that's nice, that's cute. But modern Sonic Generations 2 is all about Shadow. He's got his own section. It's all about him, and he is kind of like he's the dark version of Sonic. He's dark Sonic, he's dark Link, he is Wario. Every hero gets their dark reflection. That's kind of one of the archetypical villains. You have the antithesis and you have the reflection. Most villains are the antithesis. So Superman is all physical ability or innate talent and innate goodness, and Lex Luthor is innate smarts and innate evilness. Spider-Man is all responsibility. Great power comes great responsibility. Green Goblin is great power leads to great wealth, great lack of responsibility. He does terrible things and gets away with it. But Spider-Man's dark reflection is Venom. And Superman's dark reflection would be Zod. Another version of him that just went a different path, went down a crueler, darker path. Even in the trailer, they highlight, this is you, but where you found family and acceptance, he's only known pain and torture. So he's like you if you went off the deep end. You went all Sasuke. So I'm not a huge fan of it. I prefer Robotnik, the natural, freedom-loving Sonic, freedom-fighting Sonic versus the totalitarian, overlord, robot builder, Robotnik. He's the antithesis rather than the Shadow. But Shadow is still a really well-loved character within the Sonic fandom by the second guard. The Vanguard, they were all classic Sonic and Robotnik. But of the modern era, Shadow's a big guy, big deal. And this is a pure example of how big a deal he is.
I mean,
just I gotta say the after the first fumble with movie Sonic's visuals, once they realized that they got to lean into the IP to be a success, and how successful that movie was because they lent into the IP. All they've done since then is just go straight to the lore and just literally almost one for one. You know, they took the story of Sonic 2, that was the second film, just the giant emerald, that was it. And then, of course, they had, you know, they bring in the emeralds, and then this is the third film. It's just it's just Sonic Adventure 2. Just to take that story and give us this. And yes, yeah, this is going to be a success. Whether it be a massive success or a comfortable success, I don't know. But this is going to be successful. Fans are excited. Everyone who likes the Sonic, everyone who likes Sonic, everyone who likes games, everyone who likes good adaptation films will come out in support of this because this is a good adaptation and they want to support it. It's not uncommon for gamers, comic book readers, board games, anyone who has a love of their franchise, of their medium, to occasionally take the loss. Well, you know, they'll go and they'll support something, maybe not because they personally like it, but because it's the right thing for their medium. You know, people buy games but just throw it in the backlog. Like, yo, I like this game. This is a company making the right thing. Okay, I'll pick it up, and then just throw it in the backlog. Never play it, but they have it. They financially supported the company because they want this to be indicative of what happens next. I think there's going to be a lot of fans, a lot of geeks, a lot of nerds, a lot of people who are counterculture or modern culture now, I guess. A lot of fans who will come out not just because this is a good adaptation, but because they want this kind of adaptation to be the standard. This is what we want to show. And how do you show an executive this? Yeah. If the box office numbers are there, they will do it. That's how you change an exec's mind. It's frustrating. Well, either that or a 6 caliber, either that or a 9 caliber. You're a little quiet, buddy.
Oh, sorry.
There we go.
Okay. Yeah, me now. Yeah. I was saying the Sonic movie. I'm so happy that it took off because the Sonic movie was. I'll say this. Even Jackie Chan, everybody out there, for those of my generation, famous for doing those stunts. Well, you know that a lot of the stunts he did, he had somebody do the stunt first before he did. There's a test. Sonic was like that with the Super Mario movie. And that it started the whole way of all Nintendo's thinking, well, maybe do a movie adaptation. I mean, I'm sure they were thinking about doing it anyway, but Sonic is to give extra confidence to know that it can be done, and I'm happy. I'm so happy for it because this gaming movie before Sonic and Mario, they would just be hated by the fans all that didn't do it right. You know, but then all of a sudden Sonic came out and it was super success, and then you got these critics who seem to not know what they're talking about. Well, the audience loved it, and then the Mario movie came out, and so Sonic 2 and Mario movie came out at the same time. Now Sonic 3, they didn't know pick up their game because I mean, Mario in the next Mario game, I don't know, but I want to see Jack Black as Cooper again. Of course, I mean, if I'm saying Jim Carrey said he's not he said he was happy, he's back. I mean, despite whatever is going on in people's lives, well, right, unless it's not something too personal, but you know, people still love or something. But if he can, he's a performance. Jack Black, you know that he was the Jim Carrey of the movie, literally, in terms of being a villain, but also spurred it on. But what do you think?
Yeah, it's interesting to say. I think we're seeing a bit of a golden age of adaptations. It's not hard to see that across a number of mediums, novels, TV shows, films, games. Companies are loath to spend a lot on new ideas, new IPs, anything that's a little bit risky. They're trying to ensure returns, and the best way to do that is the familiar. So we see a lot, you know, this past 10 years, we've seen a lot of remakes in the gaming industry. We've seen a lot of redos. We've seen a lot of adaptations. They brought back Lord of the Rings with Amazon, the Rings of Power. You know, we've seen a lot of companies have tried to play it safe, and that's not bad. That's not so bad. You can iterate on the old. add further context. It's nice for a fan to have more material. It's always a good idea. But it's important that these things are treated as new. They come at it from a fresh perspective. If it's just the same old, it gets annoying.
Mm.
But I think we're fine because they don't want to. They want to stay on the familiar. They want to stay with things that are comfortable. They are iterating on those things. So we're seeing better quality remakes. We're seeing smarter decisions. We're seeing better, more time and care given to older IPs. When we were younger, perhaps they didn't. I remember the Mortal Kombat movies. The first one definitely has its own legs, but it's not a great movie. It's a good video game movie, but which I had to have put in parentheses. This is a video game movie. It's not a good movie, but it's a good one of those because it's indicative of the original source material, and it's good. Lots of good references. There's some good fight scenes and a good soundtrack. But sequels, just awful. So bad it'll give you. It'll make you ill if you watch it. But that was kind of the point. Yul Boll was a famous film director / producer who was infamous for taking gaming IPs and making awful movies. Because the point wasn't to make a good movie. The point was the legal tax shaver. It was basically creating tax fraud across a couple of different countries using a video game IP. Pardon my language, but asshole. Those were our games, But we're living in interesting times.
Mm.
What was once thought of as a throwaway or just a joke is given reverence, is given respect.
Yeah.
What were thought to be given, what were thought to be classics and revered, are profaned and defouled. Rings of Power was just a wildly stupid decision. The prequel to Game of Thrones fell flat. People are not happy with it, and Disney's swinging out the bait. We're not going to go into great detail, but Disney's remakes in live action, I think, have been a noble experiment into insanity, because it's taking their most beloved films and remaking them in live action just seems like such a foolhardy decision in basis, like right from the beginning. Let's take an animated treasure and make it gritty and real. The point of view is it was family friendly. These were cute, fun, family friendly movies that everybody could get behind with a great soundtrack. Just do that. And when they kept doing that, we got Tangled, we got Frozen. We're getting some really good modern animated films, perfect Disney movies. But then we're also getting these seemingly dark and serious-esque live versions. We don't want that. No. Don't want that. They're well made, and a couple of them have even been good. But I think it's just a foolhardy endeavor at core. It was a bad decision. I'm not touching the woke stuff. I'm not going to even broach that idea. If you want a gender swap or you want to race swap characters, do what the hell you want. Fine, as long as it makes sense. I never had a problem with a black mermaid, but I did have a problem. But I never had my problem wasn't she's now black. It was she's not ginger anymore. We don't get enough ginger characters. Why are you red, baby? But again, I don't care that you race swap these characters. They could be anything. They were the original. Yeah, but it's not an original story. All of these were public domain. They've been made countless times by other people, books and TV shows. Everyone's got their own swing on it. I've seen Japanese versions. I've seen Asian versions, African versions of these stories where they're all black. Big fucking whoop. But it just seems like such a stupid decision to. Yeah, I use the right term to spoil. To spoil what was a crystalline cultural touchstone It was a beautiful touchstone of crystal, a beautiful crystal of human interaction. Everybody watched these movies. Everybody loved these movies. Everyone grew up on these movies. I remember seeing Aladdin in the theater with my dad, and my dad walked out there going, "That was really good," and I would go, "Yeah, I loved it," and I shared that moment with my father. It's one of the reasons why it's one of the reasons why it's my top three. Not just because it's a great movie. It's not just Robin Williams. It's that I shared that moment with my family. I don't need a remake, but I do get that it's a new generation now. You know, my generation were kids when these came out. Now have their own kids, and maybe they want to have their own touchstones. But I just don't see why the older movies can't be that. Why you can't just watch the older movies, you know? Maybe I'm being a film snob. Maybe I'm just being a bit of a film snob, but I don't mind the older movies. Give me a Marx Brothers movies or a Three Stooges. I am happy. I'm freaking happy because they are still good. They're not new for news sake doesn't do it for me. New for creative sake, okay, give me a new take on it. Great. These aren't new takes on the movie. They aren't right. They aren't throwing out the rule book and making an entirely different tale. You know, you don't have Belle, you know, proposing to the beast, you know, as an example of woman power. No, it's still Belle gets kidnapped, falls in love with her kidnapper when she realizes there's humanity underneath the beast. And she finds that humanity. It's exactly the same story. It's just told worse now. I don't want to belittle the hard work that goes into making a film. It is an enormously lengthy and difficult process. It is as much a transformative, creative process as it is a technical one. Okay, no film survives creation. All right, what you had at the beginning is not what you will have at the end. You will, you know, how many great scenes were ad-libbed or came up on the spot. It's almost indicative. The actual process of physically filming the movie will change that movie because it is a transformative process. But just go out the gate with a good idea.
Yeah, dude, I think you summed up well. I think, you know, and this is finally what I'll say based on that fantastic good analysis again is I say it's this is an environment that games tend to have. It's because games are like the living work, something that we give it this reference, but it's something that grows. So whether or not you play it and the sequel to the game is bad or not, it still ends up becoming a part of the war. So that if you go back to the basics and bring Sonic 2.5D back, or Donkey Kong Country 2.5D back, you know, bring it back, but looking at the original, it's not just the original, it's still got an extra touch. If you didn't have Donkey Kong as a playable character, the SNES version of Donkey Kong Country, or when Sonic Adventure, Sonic 4, Sonic 4 came out on this movie, it was 2D Sonic again, but it had another touch of a few moves you can do the door with different.
A bit of visual polish to it.
Yeah, I suppose that's essentially the main difference. But ultimately, what you're dealing with is when you get and I'm looking forward to slowly seeing the Wolverine but it's the idea that you can go back to the original, but show that you're going. It's a family reunion, and you see. I remember everything because when you've grown, you know, one of those things, and so if you're gonna tell the whole story again. Acknowledge that the elephant in the room. You know, we get the camera to say, yeah, it's not the exact same room, but we're going back to the same. We go back to that same frame of reference to tell the story. That is to say, we know Wolverine. You know, therefore, he's wearing the yellow spandex. He's wearing the Wolverine's actually wearing the stuff from the comic book. You got again from in the Donkey Kong experience, or hey, Sonic, here we are now, and Shadow as the world. Everything's looking very much like the actual game, the way the characters are designed, not looking like freaks. But you have to acknowledge that Sonic Shadow is a new gen character if you think about it. I mean, and so on. So there are things that wouldn't to the audience that if you acknowledge the in the room, even in the Mario movie, a lot of Easter eggs, a lot of things you can say that throw back to the original Donkey Kong and Mario fighting on the original Mario game, the Donkey Kong game, the original one, he's climbing these scaffoldings. Yeah, all those little touches of things that the original OGs would notice, but it's a new experience. If you can somehow show reverence, just like Japan, show reverence to the tradition, but of course lay out the road for the new, I think you get audience acceptance. So that's what makes it quite a phenomenal what's going on with this renaissance or resurgence in classics that people want to re-experience, but they want it new. I think it's not just different, but I think they want a renewal. Maybe this is a renewal phase we're going through right now of renewal of classics, but in a way that isn't for the sake of it, like you said. The Beauty and the Beast, but then you got Sonic movie. It's. I mean, hey, even the Mario movie is an example of it because they made a Mario movie before, and the Chevrolet doesn't exist. So and here we are.
No, they didn't. There's only been one Mario movie. But yeah, I actually I like that idea. I do think that occasionally I don't mind a remake that will polish up the graphics, introduce some modern sensibilities, automated save functions, better control schemes. But yeah, as we iterate on any medium, we get better at it. You make more movies, you get better at the craft. As we make more games, we get better. We learn what better systems work, and bringing back an older game that's fairly accurate, but with a modern sensibility. Yeah, there's absolutely it's absolutely warrants it. I just think that with certain films, the action you engage, the way you interact is passive. You observe it. It's like a book. You're not writing the damn thing. You are reading it. You read. It's a static story. You just read the story and engage with it however you engage with it. But a game is an interactive. It's a proactive interaction. I am the one who pushes the character forward. If I don't pick up the controller, the character doesn't move any forward. The story doesn't progress. So yes, we can find better ways, more improved ways, and to interact with our characters within the 3D environment. The mechanics of movement can get better. I mean, the difference between the early Spider-Man games of the PS1 era and Insomniac's Spider-Man on the PS4 and 5, it's night and day. It's so fluid and interactive the way they play now. But yeah, but are their stories much better? Well, back then they were very much comic book, and now they are their own beast. But again, there's some joy in the old. I don't mind going occasionally. I pull out like an emulation device. I've got the Ambernic SP, and I got a number of PS1 games on there. I've got the two Spider-Man games, and I'll play the first Spider-Man game again because I still like that game, But yeah, you are absolutely right that improvement is not a dirty word, but I think that it's a case by case. I think that for a lot of films, a remake isn't necessarily a bad thing. For a lot of films, a remake isn't a bad thing because you could add depth to it, you could add new layers to the story, build upon it. But some films feel timeless. They don't need to be improved upon. They're still as good now as they were then. It's one of the reasons why I prefer animation. I am an animation guy. I would take a bad animated film over a good live action film any day of the week. My primary form of entertainment is animation, cartoons, anime, video games, stuff like that. Because a good art style will endure. It's the difference between like a photorealistic game, a Call of Duty versus Wind Waker, and that's cel-shaded graphics. 20 years later, Wind Waker looks as good, if not better now than it did back then. Whereas Call of Duty looks garbage, because they were trying to be realistic, and they were caught by the limitations of what the machine and the technology could do. But now technology is better; we can do far more realistic things. But if you don't aim for realism, if you aim for style and a specific aesthetic, that will endure. It'll just keep looking good. That's why Crash, even now, looks good. Even classic Crash still looks good.
You got insight like that, is it?
What it's like you said about the modern aesthetic with the movie. the movie is aping the modern aesthetic, but it's not doing its own version. It's just using the modern aesthetic. And it works. They look great. Sonic and Knuckles, Tails, Shadow, they all look great. Even Jim Carrey as Robotnik looks great because he's not trying to be a person. He's trying to be a caricature. And those endure. There's actually a really good book by Scott McCloud, who wrote one of the first real academic journals on graphic novels, on the theory of mind, on the process of how humans interact with images, how to tell a story through pictures. And he highlighted that types of art people relate to types of art differently. And the more accurate to real life, the more specific you become. This is a portrait of a real place, like those perfect portraits from history. You look in the Louvre and art galleries, and you think, my God, they have such talent. They took a moment of time and they perfectly encapsulated it. Yeah, but that's just only a picture of that specific moment and those specific people. But as the image becomes more and more decentralized, as more cartoonish, for lack of a better word, it becomes more relatable. It becomes anyone could be that person because they aren't a person, they're a caricature. Until you get to the other end of that spectrum. On one end, you have a perfect photorealistic drawing of a person, and the other, you have the male and female lavatory images, just like a stick figure. That dude is everyone. Every man is that because he's so neutral. He could be anyone. It's perfectly relatable, as opposed to being an example of someone. This is an example of everyone. It's also argued why, to segue into Sonic 3 again, Keanu Reeves was so successful as an action movie. He has that kind of deadpan face. He's really easy to imagine yourself in that role. He has a kind of such a mild way of interacting with these things. He acts very well. He's a great performer, but in a lot of his big movies, he's not emoting a lot.
But it's a story be the star.
Yeah, he is our stand-in. He's our figure doing it, and he's just bland enough that I can superimpose myself upon that film, and I can live that film, and it allows me to get so much more of an emotional reaction to it, because it's not just I'm watching a dude do this. It's yo, I'm there, and I feel it, and that's one of the joys. That's one of the most effective things that decentralizing a character and using a cartoonist or a caricature of a character rather than an actual person can do. It can allow you to connect better. But that's another topic for another day.
Yeah,
we'll put the woke shit aside and we'll put the discussion of analyzing graphic novel psychology aside for another day. But if you are interested in us talking about it, Scott McCloud's book is great. It's a classic book. I recommend anyone who's interested in comics, in graphic novels, in telling story through image rather than film. Film is its own beast. But if you are interested in drawing, and especially telling a story through drawing, it's a really thumping good read. It really is.
Yeah, it's true. And finally, I'll say, just surrounding what I said earlier about Michael Jackson versus Beyonce, is that, and not to mention, speaking of going back to other things, watching a performer do a song that they're famous for years in the future has a similar effect. It's like, as long as if you can work them back to back, for example, who's a good one? Stevie Wonder's on a few. In fact, no, Beyonce's one of the best at doing songs as good as she did years ago. Because you can, I
think she's a very talented performer. Her songs are really, really catchy and really doing. But she feels like she's made out of amber. I get why they call her the Queen Bee. Like she's as good now as she once was. I mean, I was privileged enough to see Destiny's Child when they were still Destiny's Child. You know, I went with my mother to see them, and they slap, man. They were brilliant. But it was easy to see that Beyonce had skill even back then. And now she's just she feels timeless. Hell, even in her later videos, she's really leaning into that whole museum aesthetic. She's you know, she's timeless, and
standard for sure.
good for her. She found something that really, really worked. She lent into her own strengths and lent into an aesthetic. She wasn't just like, "Yo, I'm a person." She was like, "No, I am."
Yeah, is it
Beyonce, right?
yeah.
And it worked.
And
She's the queen bee.
Yeah, just like you said, when it comes to the character, a sign of a character is how well it endures, and I think the idea that again that she can, it's a testament to her craft and her skill and her discipline, but the fact that you can perform songs, all songs that don't the same way today. Yeah, I could put a video on my playlist of how she performed now versus how she performed originally, and I'm happily watching back to back. You've got a bit of an issue with you prefer the original. Like Michael Jackson, like he can't perform. He couldn't perform his Jackson 5 the same way when he grew up. That's not fair because he's a boy. But at the same time, at the same time, his character as a man, the moonwalk and everything.
He's a funny case study because recently there was a Josh Jones comedy skit, and he was talking about the history of Michael and him and Tupac having beef. There was a funny story about them getting into a fight.
Oh right, because Janet Jackson.
Yeah, well, because of Quincy Jones's daughter.
Oh.
But he mentioned something that I didn't know, and Michael Jackson was a consummate professional. The man was so talented, but he had been raised that way. He'd been raised from a very young age, in a very brutal life for entertainment business. Probably why brain went weird later on in his life. But you ever seen that film, The Prestige, about the competing magicians? So there's two magicians who are perpetually trying to one-up each other, and they're coming up with better and better ways to pull off their magic tricks. And their biggest trick is the teleportation. One of them does it in one way, the other one does it in another. No spoilers. But both of the artists try to embody a role so much that they are never not performing. They don't go home and take the mask off. They do it always. And I think he mentioned that Michael Jackson was like this. Michael Jackson had a persona in person. He was very meek, very kind, very kind of relaxed and demure by the time. And it's said that this was not Michael. Behind closed doors to his friends and family, that wasn't who he was. He was louder. He was gruffer. He was a person. But in public, to the public, he was this mild-mannered, kind of quiet guy. Because his theory, his argument was that he didn't want him to be before the music. He made himself so meek, so ephemeral, so non-essential that people didn't look at Michael. They only looked at the music. They went straight past him as a person to the music. And for a long time, I think from the 80s to the 2000s, that's pretty true. No, he got no scandals. He got no applauses. No one did much with Michael, but we still loved his music. His music was still celebrated and beloved. It was in the 90s that we got his story, his compilation album, which sold like gangbusters, and he had the History tour. And he tried to make himself non-factor, like he removed the artist from the art. But you can't remove the artist from the art because you need one for the other. I think you can enjoy the art without the artist, but it's a difficult argument to be made that you can remove them. And maybe that's why one of the reasons he went crazy. That he spent so much of his life pretending and hiding and portraying, and he was basically performing. He was performing at the moment that he stepped outside of his own house, because there were paparazzi everywhere. He was never not in front of a camera, but the moment there was a camera, he was on stage. He was never down. He spent his entire life, every moment of every day, almost every moment of every day, in front of a camera, performing this role in order to keep his people focused on his music. That breaks a person. Well, human beings aren't meant to have that kind of stress. That's like PTSD. If people in the trenches, they're not meant to endure that kind of always fight and flight response, to perpetually be on. We can't. We're not built that way.
Yeah, I mean, which is what made the whole allegations a little allegations about it worse in the. Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, what he did was, I don't condone what he did, but the idea of him breaking and wanting to be a child.
Mm.
Yeah, I can kind of see that happening. Yeah, he spent all of his adult life trying to do something noble and being screwed by it, and he just wanted to be a kid again.
That's it, yeah. And for that matter, there are other people. I'm not only I see him a guilty kind of thing. But you know, hey, I'm sure that some person will dig up something later on. But for what we have so far as evidence and verdicts and all that stuff concerned, yeah, I just think I think everything evidence is correct. It's like you're always under that PTSD experience. It's absurd. Now that being said, all that was to say, people. Sorry, all that was to say, when you have a character that can be transferred to the audience, that the audience can vicariously live through, and that can be transferred to different times, sensations, different regions of the world, and all that stuff. Yeah, it makes adaptations from others, whether they be movie adaptations or the character in question, game adaptations or what have you, all the easier. And I think it says something about the time that we're in right now, which again comes back to what I was saying about the renewal of classics. Quite telling of the appetite we have for the originals or the long-lasting character, because a lot of things are changing. People kind of want some consistency, want to go back to things that were always there, something that lasted. In this case, Sonic, and in other cases, Mario, in other cases, certain movie characters and pop singers and so on, all part of our culture. I think we've got some permanent. That's probably why I think Mario movie 2 will probably come out this year. No, maybe the year after, but they'll have to do something because it's not just going to run away with it again. But we'll see.
We'll see. I think Sega has come out the gate sprinting. They easily have the lead ahead of Nintendo, but Nintendo has the financial support. It has the IPs, so Nintendo's not looking to win this race. They're looking to win the war. Play the long game.
Long game. Yeah, they look like they got the IPs to last them for eternity. But
you just have to use it well. If they just use them well, they'll be all right.
That's it. It's
good to see Sonic again. Good to see him doing well.
It's good to see Sonic, bloody hell. Some people, sorry, we went on a bit longer. I'm surprised we lasted this long, to be honest, in terms of what is available to us, bandwidth wise.
Yeah.
But oh well, hopefully it comes out.
Keep looking a gift horse in the mouth. Yes. Yeah. So we'll put a bow on this now. We've been talking for a while. We did want to talk about the Nintendo Museum. Apparently, there's been a few complaints. It hasn't worked out as well as we thought. But honestly, I think the biggest thing that has made me laugh is it turns out that all the devices, or most of the devices that you can go there and play games on, are emulators. They're not using original hardware. They're emulating. Which, of course, for a famously litigious company, suing people who do emulation. I mean, even in Nintendo's own terms and services, they say that if you can't use your own device, you can't use your own game. If I buy a physical game and I put it onto a digital format, I can't use that because it's not a Nintendo licensed product.
Not for me.
That's crazy. I bought the damn thing. If I want to make a copy and play with my own product, you can't do anything. But I think this is the world we're living in now. The idea that we don't own products, we just license them. Even if I buy something, you can take it from me.
Not go well for Nintendo if they try that, because you've seen a few people don't like hypocrisy these days. Also, not for me. I don't think it's going to apply. But at the end of the day, Nintendo can say what they want. I'm not going to listen to Nintendo. I'm going to emulate it. Right, sorry. Something. I don't care. Anyways.
Yeah, man. Well, I have no quarrel with people emulating stuff that you can't get.
Yeah.
I'll buy it. I want to play this game. If you're selling it, I will buy it. I will get it legitimately. But if you aren't going to offer me a legitimate way of getting it, there's only one place I can. And just smash cut to a drunken guy with rum. Where's the controller? Where's the controller?
No, but yes, you're absolutely right. I need to
Look, it's the same for. It's not just video games. It's for every medium. The whole point of a black market is to get stuff that you can't get through a regular market. If it was available in the regular market, we would go to the market.
Bloody hell.
So
I think they do realize, but people. So I guess you should cut it here. But next week we'll pick up where we left off, and the week after, Christmas is on the horizon.
Yeah, we'll have some. We're hoping to have like a special Christmas video. We'll do something fun. We might even play a game together, which would be nice.
Yeah. Come on now, come on. All right. So, thanks so much, Gamer Dan. Thanks. So I sent you a message of the other two other things I didn't write down. Thanks, dude. All right. Well, we'll catch you next time. Keep it rocking, Gamer Dan, and people out there. Thanks so much. Merry
no problem. Hey, and please go check out my my videos of Legend of Zelda, Echoes of Wisdom. They're up now, or they're premiering soon. Yeah, I'm quite proud of that. It's been a really good, fun game. I'm just like these videos. I ramble and I spurt some ideas and thoughts, and every video, in every single video, or almost every single video, I ask you a question. I put it in the comments, which is what we're gonna do now. If you've got any thoughts on what we've been talking about, on the idea of audiences superimposing themselves onto characters and living films vicariously. If you challenging the idea of screwing up older content, is newer content good for its own sake, or does it have to have its own hook? Or maybe we should just update. We should have newer versions of older stuff to keep them relevant, to keep them fresh. And tell us what you think about those slap bracelets, those expensive slap bracelets you can buy in USJ in Universal Studios.
That's not people. So yeah.
Also, what other amusement park should have an interactive element? Could you get a little diving thing for SeaWorld and play and interact and win prizes for interact with the animal? You won't be able to interact with the animals, but interact with the displays in an interesting way. Should you get them at Disneyland? Should you get them at Six Flags? Could you get them at Japan is famous for these little microcosm themed places. They're like themed resorts, but based upon locations. So there's a Paris resort, and then there's a Shakespeare resort, which is set like old England. And instead of the Japanese are very kind of insular. They don't like to travel so much. They like to just keep it in their own country. So what they do is take pieces of other countries' culture and then make their own version, make their own little kind of theme worlds. What if we had one of those for that? Forsooth, to be or not to be, Shakespearean one. That would be cool. Or a Parisian one going around Paris.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry,
but yes. Until next time.
Peace. Thanks a lot, Gamer Dan. Merry Xmas.
See you, buddy.
Yeah.